Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the RMAC Baseball Weekly. I believe this is episode 8, and we are finally at the end of the regular season and gearing up for the start of the conference tournament tomorrow. And with me, once again, 2 weeks in a row, I really appreciate it. Hunter Owens, Jace, he's got some finals and some of that minor nonsensical stuff to take care of, but. Yeah, so he's out, but yeah, got Hunter again. I appreciate it, Hunter. Thanks for being willing to jump on and help me out here. And yeah, how's your week going?
Oh, not too bad. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come back on. Last time was a lot of fun. This week's been good. We've been playing a little bit of baseball at the high school level and doing some coaching on the side. And we had about 3 games this week, and it's been going well. But ready to talk some college baseball.
Yeah, we had a great end of the season weekend this last weekend, and really kind of shaping up for a good conference tournament. But let's kind of take a look and see what we have for the standings. These would be our standings for the end of the season here, and of course, Colorado Mesa, they uh, take the top spot, win the regular season conference championship. And but we'll notice in that win-loss column there, we see something we haven't seen yet in that RMAC record with a loss, on their record this week. MSU Denver gets second with that second seed. UCCS third with 21-10-1. Regis or CSU Pueblo, Colorado School of Mines, they get that fourth and fifth spot. Regis, they get that sixth seed, make that tournament. And Colorado Christian, Adams State, New Mexico Highlands, they end up falling short this weekend, and uh, yeah, they'll be gearing up and getting ready for next season here soon. But yeah, we're kind of looking at the standings after this last weekend. What did you see? What kind of sticks out to you?
Well, I think when we talked last week, we kind of expected it to look relatively like this. This was always a possibility. Mesa wasn't able to get that 32-0, which would have been really cool to see. I would have been curious to see if, one, if that's been done before, and then when was the last time that it was done. But, just coming up right there, overall, really impressive season when you only have one loss inside your own division and then only 4 losses in total. When you go on a 24, 25 game win streak, that helps. But as far as Denver, MSU Denver, we kind of figured that they would slide into the 2 seed. It would have taken a lot for UCCS to go ahead and jump them. But that UCCS and CSU Pueblo series ended up being really good and really a tight one. We knew last week that Colorado School of Mines was going to be locked into that seed right there. And, there was no movement for them. But then, we had the utter chaos between Regis, Colorado Christian, and Adams. We'll get more into that. But I I feel bad a little bit for Colorado Christian with 2 of Regis's games being called by daylight. You never know what was going to happen with that. They had the one earlier in the year with UCCS, and I thought that UCCS would have walked them off in that scenario, and that would have made them 10-22. Now, do they come back against? Does Adams pull off the upset? We don't know, but that game ended up ending because of daylight as well. But just right there. Right there for Colorado Christian at the end.
Yeah, you made that last game, of the actual season that was being played between Regis and Adams State mean something. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, it was very cool to see it come down to the very end like that. And yeah, Regis kind of went in with the front runner to get that
Mhm.
sixth seed, and you know there's almost a lot of chaos, but you can see us very close at 10-21-1 and 10-22 for conference records. But yeah, Regis ekes it out and they get that sixth seed. Um,
Yeah, I think last week we both had Regis, ended up winning that series, but that ended up not happening. And I last week I was hoping for a little bit of chaos, and we got it. You can't ask for much more than it coming down to the very last game of your season.
that's right. Gotta love RMAC baseball. looking at the D2 ranking. This is by D2 baseball. Obviously, New Mexico, or excuse me, Colorado Mesa, they retained that number one spot despite the game one, loss to MSU Denver. But going 45 and 4 on the season, that's a pretty good season.
Really good season. I mean, we discussed after they dropped that first game, could we see them still in the one seed or the overall number one, or could they drop to two? And, even dropping one game, they still get the one overall number one, which I would agree with. You win 24 or 25 straight games and you lose one game. It's like, all right, you're not really going to move that much. And, MSU Denver has been playing well and they're no slouch either. I mean, they're right there. They're ranked in the beginning of the year, and I think it's a deserving overall one seed. And really, big picture looking at it after the RMAC play, what is this Mesa team going to look like going into regionals, and then are they going to be able to move past the super regionals and maybe a College World Series appearance?
Yeah, right. And while we don't see it on the screen here, D2 Baseball does have MSU Denver receiving votes. And, I think kind of depending upon how they show up and play in the conference tournament, that's going to kind of be determinative of, if they're going to, make the regional tournament bracket.
Hmm. It's going to be really close. I mean, if they are not able to, then it is an important note to know that, if Mesa walks out and wins the RMAC tournament this week, then obviously they get that automatic bid. But if, MSU Denver or UCCS or Pueblo ends up winning the tournament, they get that automatic bid for the playoffs.
Yeah, and well, now all the teams in that tournament see that Mesa is human. They, can be beaten. MSU Denver showed that in game one this last weekend, and kind of makes everybody a little more optimistic about the
Mhm.
tournament and the upcoming, week here. Let's go ahead and let's start taking a look at that first series that we have here, Adams State versus Regis. Adams State, they have a 2-0 lead in top of the third, and they add on to that with an Isaiah Pruitt three-run shot that makes it 5-0 Adams State. Then in the bottom of the fourth, Regis Nikolai Arnold, he has a three-run home run to get Regis within two at 5-3. Going into the bottom, or excuse me, the top of the seventh, we have Adams State. They're leading 7-4. They get an insurance run here with a Christian Altamirano single up the middle, bringing Gunnar Martinez, and Adams State's going to take game one, 8-5. How would you see or like, or what caught your eye in this game?
Well, Adams gets the win. They needed to be able to sweep Regis in order to have a chance to make the playoffs, and they took care of business the first game. And they did it without any errors. They jumped out to a 5-0 lead. Regis battled back to make it a 5-4 game, but they were able to pull away at the very end. I mean, pitching did their job when they needed to. Connor came in and he did a great job, and just shutting down Regis when it mattered most in those late innings. And even though that Regis battled back for one of the nights, they were able to shut them down and really take care of business that first game. I think it's it was good to see, just because we talked about last week, Regis or Adams State going 1-19 over their last 20 games, and them being able to bounce back and get this win when they absolutely needed it, backs against the wall. They were able to.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of have that, streak where things aren't going anywhere close to your way, and it's do or die, and they showed up and they did it. I mean, they get this first, game win, and I mean that's what they needed to get things started, and it was very good start to the series for them. Um,
Mhm.
kind of looking at, I mean, Isaiah Pruitt, he had a big three-run shot in this game. But then a name that we're going to hear repeatedly throughout this series as we start going through the games here, Nikolai Arnold. Here 2 for 4, 3 RBIs, bringing 2 runs with a double and a 3-run home run.
And, they were able to keep Ethan Wood in check for the most part this first game. I mean, they did a really good job, minimizing the damage that he could do. I mean, he's been on fire all season long, and it felt like we talked about him a lot last week with those Regis games. And, he's been doing really well, but, Adams was able to minimize him during this game.
Yeah, they did. They did a great job. Uh, Going ahead, then we'll look at game two. Here in the bottom of the first, Regis Jack Mullen, he doubles to right center, bringing Linus Fleet to get the Rangers on the board first. And this is just one of 8 that Regis is going to score in the bottom of the first inning. Here we have Aiden Harrison. He doubles through the left side, bringing in Bobo Iandoli. Also in the bottom of the first, Linus Fleet, he doubles, bringing in 2 runs. Yeah, just a part of an 8-run first inning. Uh, Going then to the bottom of the second, uh, Regis is up, going to make it 11-0 with Linus Fleet. He singles to right field. In the third, though, Aiden Tauscher, he gets Adams on the board with a 2-run home run. Then in the bottom of the third, Regis, they're going to get 2 runs here with Aiden Harrison hitting a 2-run home run. And then the top, Adam State, Osaias Inihosa hits a home run to left center. Basically, Regis takes game 2 then, ties the series at 1-1. Before we kind of, talk about this, Osaias Inihosa, we had a little bit of a conversation about him in the group chat the other day, kind of thinking he's, probably one of the individuals that would be, in the talks for a freshman, player of the year. And I mean, this guy is, came out of, obviously as a freshman coming out of nowhere, kind of taken, the conference by storm in the first half of the season, and had a very good second half of the season, even through that 1-19 stretch there. But yeah, very impressive season for the young man, and yeah, looking forward to watching him play a lot of baseball at Adams State in the years to come.
Yeah, he did a great job. I mean, his season numbers, he did really well. And you didn't really know what you're going to get out of this Adams State team this year, and he was one of the bright spots that they had even through those struggles.
And for Regis, I mean, putting up 8 runs, in that bottom of that first inning, that's going to help you win a lot of games, even if you're not in the RMAC. But yeah, great way for Regis to come back after that, first game loss. Their magic number was 3 kind of going into the series. So unless Colorado Christian was going to lose, 3 out of their 4, they needed to do something. So, for them to come and get that win in game 2 after that, I'm sure a devastating loss for them in game 1, kind of showed something, with that effort as well.
Yeah, being able to bounce back. I mean, when you get 11 runs in the first 2 innings, I mean, you're doing something right, from the hitting side. Not, I mean, You you're doing really well, and then, even with Adams bouncing back for 3 in that top of the third, where you're just still being able to pile on and pile on runs and ultimately just pulling away there at the very end. I mean, they played clean baseball at the end of the day, 0 errors on there. Pitching did their job and minimized Adams. This I believe this was the game that ended up knocking Adams out of the playoffs and out of the hunt, which is a little bit devastating when your season's over and you only got 2 more games after this. What what are you playing for? And kind of just trying to finish those last 2 games out. Morale's probably not super high at that point, but really big win for Regis here, making sure that they increase their lead to be able to get that 6th seed.
Yep. And, with Regis starting pitcher Gio Casas, 4-3 on the season, but really, I think the record doesn't quite show the true season that he had. But another good, very good performance out of him this game, and kind of expect that see at least one performance out of him in the conference tournament as we come up here. But yeah, great season for him. Great outing here to get that win and kind of get closer to that 6th seed clinching. Let's then take a look at game 3, and this one was kind of ridiculous. Here we're gonna have, in the top of the seventh, Christian Altamirano for Adams State. He's gonna hit a double down the right field line. That's gonna clear the bases, scoring three. We got a 9-9 tie. Now, Adams State is gonna bring 7 runs in this seventh inning. Uh, in the bottom of the inning, we have Jack Mullen for Regis. He's gonna tie it up at 13 when he doubles to left field, bring in 2 runs. Uh, in the eighth, Adams State, scored 8. Gunnar Martinez, he had a triple to right field. Not the greatest camera view of that, but that's his triple there, bringing in an RBI, making it 21-13 at that time. Park Romney, he then hits a home run for Regis in the bottom of the inning, a 3-run shot. Regis, they're coming back. They score 7 in the bottom of the eighth. We get it at 21-20. Adams in the top of the ninth, and Aiden Tauscher, he brings in an insurance run with a double to right field. And Adams State is going to end up winning kind of a high scoring nail biter here, 23-22. And they're going to take a 2-1 series lead. I mean, talk about the Grizzlies, showing something this game. I mean, just impressive.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the moment that you get eliminated from the playoffs is definitely devastating, but they were able to come back and show some life and, really play spoiler a little bit. I mean, we just needed to win some of these games, and dropping this one was a big one, even though, we got another football score out of the RMAC again. And, when you go an 8 and a 7, you get another 7 and another 5 in there, it's like, holy crap, that's going to add up pretty quickly. Outside of the first inning that was scoreless, there was a lot of runs scored. I mean, everyone hit. And, when Adams needed to make the pitching at the very end, they were able to survive enough to be able to pull out this. And they honestly just made less mistakes. I mean, you see in the box score 2 errors for Adams and 5 errors for Regis. And who doesn't love a football score for your senior day for Regis right there? I mean, I'm sure a lot of those seniors have been through a lot of very high scoring games. So, that's a good one to go out on, even though that you're on the other side of it. They'd want to be on the other side of it, but, it's the RMAC.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you mentioned earlier, Adams State playing spoiler here. At this point, Regis, they still need to get some wins in order to feel comfortable that they're going to get that 6th seed over Colorado Christian. So, for the Grizzlies to come in game 3 after dropping game 2, uh, yeah, it showed a lot of grit on the part of the Grizzlies, and it's kind of a never going to die, never going to quit attitude. I mean, going into this game, they were 2-20 in the last
Mhm.
2 games. So to come back after just being eliminated from playoff contention and get this win, very impressive by the Adams State team.
Yeah, just continuing to battle. Just continuing to battle.
Well, let's then take a look at game 4 here, and score tied 2-2 in the bottom of the third, and Regis Nikolai Arnold. He has a 3-run shot to left field, making the score 5-2 Regis. In the bottom of the fourth, we have Nikolai Arnold. He singles up the middle, bringing in a run, making it 8-2 at that point. And then in the bottom of the fifth, surprise, surprise, we had Nikolai Arnold. He singles to right field, bringing in a run, making it 10-3. And Regis is going to win this one 10-2, or 10-3, excuse me, and split the series 2-2. So yeah, Nikolai Arnold, great game this game, going 3 for 4 with 5 RBIs, 2 runs, and a 3-run shot. And really a great uh, you know, series for Nikolai
Mhm.
Arnold, and that resulted in him getting this week's Player of the Week award for his performance this series, and getting Regis then into that 6th seed.
Yeah, I mean, he did great. I mean, just looking at this, you get 3 runs, but you only get 10 hits. I mean, that's that's definitely tough when you look at it. But, if you're just being able to come back and get those 10 runs, 13 hits, no errors, clean baseball all the way around, And you mentioned that their magic number coming in was 3 games. Well, they got 2 of them, so they're going to need a little bit of help as well. But Regis did what they needed to do other than the shootout game. They pitching did really well overall, other than the 1 game, and just this was a great series overall. Adams State's season comes to a close here, but they're definitely looking to come back stronger next year with their young core and a lot of the young pieces that really showed up this year, and building on top of some of their pitching and some of their hitting as well.
Sure. And Josh Parks for Adams State, his career is going to be coming to an end. Sad to see. He was just an absolute stud during his time in Alamosa. Um, yeah, sad to see him moving on, but yeah, great season for him. Just a great career for him. Then, of course, Christian Altamirano. He had a good year for the Grizzlies as well. And then there's the kid, Osaias Iniosa, that 2 for 3 at the DH spot here. Just really showed up for the Grizzlies this year and made that really fun to watch and kind of see what he was going to do. And yeah, season comes to an end, but it was a great effort by the Grizzlies this last series.
Definitely, I completely agree.
Well, let's go ahead and start taking a look at the next series, New Mexico Highlands versus Colorado Christians. We have 0-0 going to top of the second, and New Mexico Highlands changes that. They score 6 in the top of the second inning. But then in the top of the, or excuse me, the top of the second, Jonathan Davis, he gets this home run, 3-run shot. Then in the bottom of the fourth, Lucas Hinzies for Colorado Christian. He's going to hit a grand slam and tie this thing up in a hurry at 6-6. But then Jonathan Davis, he does his thing in the sixth. Basically, Highlands Center is going to have an 8-6 lead. In the top of the seventh, Nico Hilger, he doubles to left field, bringing in 2, making it 9-6. And New Mexico Highlands takes game 1, 11-7. What were your thoughts of this series, and especially with Colorado Christian? They needed to at least win 3 games and hope that Regis would lose 4, or get some combination, of
Mm-hmm.
that in order to get into that 6th seed in the conference tournament.
Well, I will say Regis was definitely happy seeing that Highland was able to beat Christian in this. A little bit. Zachary Hill was our pitcher of the week last week, and he didn't do so great this time. But I expect a little bit of a turnaround in the tournament for him. But overall, New Mexico Highlands jumps out for 6 runs in the second inning, and then Christian is able to answer. I mean, they do answer in the fourth inning, but that sixth and seventh inning just get a little bit too far away for Colorado Christian, and they're just not able to make that comeback. I mean, a couple errors in the box score, but New Mexico Highlands played really clean baseball overall, and it was good to see for New Mexico Highlands to do some pitching at the right time. I mean, there is not a whole lot of times you're going to see somebody throw a complete game and give up 11 hits and 7 runs. You're not going to see that a whole lot. But Andrew came out and he did a great job and was able to do what he needed to do. I mean, through 3 scoreless innings to start, got hit around in that fourth inning, but that fifth through eighth inning, he was really locked out, and lights out, and then giving up 1 in the ninth. But overall, really good job.
Yeah, and Baltazar, he, complete game, 9 inning complete game here. He's been kind of that guy that goes the extended innings for New Mexico Highlands almost all season here, and
Mhm.
has done very well. So 3-6 does not tell the whole story for him in the season that he had. The Cowboys relied upon him a lot, and he delivered a lot for that team. Um, for Colorado Christian, Lucas Hinze, he gets the big grand slam, and with Regis losing that first game to Adams State, Colorado Christian's last year. Well, now they know that, hey, they need to get to work and
Mhm.
keep their playoff hopes alive. So looking then at game 2, you know Carl Christian, they're going to score 5 runs in the second here. We have an Aiden Walsh. He hits a 2 RBI double to left field. Then Taylor McLeod kind of has some dark, video here, but he's going to get an RBI double to right center, making the Cougars lead 6-1. Still in the third inning, we're going to have Nathan Owens. He's going to hit a home run to left field. This one's a 2-run shot, making the Cougars lead 8-1. Going to the bottom of the fourth, we have Taylor McLeod again. He's going to get 2 more RBIs with a double to right center. And, this is going to basically start Carl Christian's fourth inning, in which they score 7 runs, in this fourth inning. In the bottom of the sixth, Carl Christian's Cade Lacey doubles to right center, bringing in another run to make it 16-3. In the top of the seventh, Seth Galfano from New Mexico Highlands, he doubles to left center, bringing in 2, making it 16-6, and that's where the rally here ends. Kind of falls short, or extremely short. CCU is going to win game 2, 16-6. They're going to tie the series here at 1-1. What kind of stuck out to you in this game?
Well, it seems that Colorado Christian has taken some notes from Regis, dropping that first game and then coming back and really playing well the second game. I mean, scoring 8 runs in the first 3 innings and then added another 7 spot on top of that. I mean, you're just pulling away at that point. Pitching game today, and you go 5 innings of 1-run baseball. I mean, especially in any conference, that is going to get you some wins. I mean, that 6th and 7th inning, you give up 5 runs, but at that point you're already up 15 runs, and you're just trying to minimize and kind of get out of there. I mean, Colorado Christian play clean baseball. New Mexico Highlands had a couple of errors, but even though that New Mexico Highlands won the first game and came out in that first inning, was able to get a run, Colorado Christian was able to kind of calm down a little bit and really start to hammer home some runs. I mean, this is exactly what they needed to stay in the race and to continue, potentially jumping over Regis, but they made it, and they ended up making it really, really, really close.
They did, and kind of like with Regis, losing that first game, but then bouncing back and winning. When backs are against the wall. Colorado Christian, same thing here. Just really, kind of showing the grit that team has to, after losing that game 1, bouncing back and getting it done when they really needed to keep their playoff hopes alive. And how about a game for Taylor McLeod? 3 for 3, 3 RBIs, 2 runs with 2 doubles. Yeah, he really showed up, for the Cougars when the Cougars needed him, and yeah, had a very good outing. Let's go ahead and we'll take a look at game 3. Here we're going to start off in the bottom of the first. Carl Christian's Lucas Hinsey. He's going to hit a solo shot to right field, putting the Cougars up 1-0. But in the top of the second, New Mexico Highlands tandem Webb Tate, he's going to bring in a run to tie it with a double into left field, and we're at 1-1 at that point. In the going into the bottom of the fifth, it's 5-4 Colorado Christian, and Colorado Christian is going to score 8 in the fifth. We have Gregory Rangel clearing the bases, bringing in 3 on a double left center. Then Mason Hagel Pitt, he's going to hit a 2-run shot here to left center field. Yeah, they just kind of had a great fifth inning here. Everybody was hot, everybody was hitting. But then in the top of the seventh, New Mexico Highlands, they're going to do do it themselves. They score 7 in the 7th inning. We have Alex Galvan hitting a 2-run home run to right field. In the top of the 8th, Luby Marujo, he singles left center, bringing in 2 and reducing that deficit to just 1. But in the bottom of the 8th, Carl Christian's Gregory Rangel, he doubles to right field, bringing in an insurance run, making it 16-14, and that's how this game is going to end, and Carl Christian is going to go up 2-1 in the series. Like to see Lubby coming in big in the later innings there, in his final season down in Las Vegas. Yeah, for this is just kind of the story of Highlands season. I mean, they're just right there, 16-14. I mean, so many games, just by 1 runs or 2 runs, and but it shows the. I think you can see that there is a change in the culture occurring there. The process is being made. It just isn't quite complete yet. But I think the way things are looking, especially after this season, I mean, it's looking good for New Mexico Highlands and the route that and path that they're on.
No, I completely agree. I mean, they're making the strides. I mean, you get a couple things go your way in each of these games, you're looking at something completely different. I mean, after that second game, they were eliminated from the playoffs, and being able to come back here, you're down 15 to 4, and you're able to continue to fight to come back even though you don't have anything to play for. You're playing for those seniors those last couple games there, and really putting it all out on the line your last two baseball games for some of these seniors that they have, and then the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, continuing to grow. But I think they're in a good place. They're really close. You get a handful of these baseball games to go the right way. I mean, earlier in the year they lost to Mesa by 1 run. I mean, they're right there. That's crazy to say because Mesa only lost one game this year in the conference, and they're hosting, and New Mexico Highlands ended up finishing last in the conference. But like anyone can beat anyone at any point. But good job for Regis being able to pull this one out, or Colorado Christian pulling this one out, and they were able to, put their foot on the gas and really put the pressure on Regis with being able to win here. I mean, getting the getting the 5 runs early on, getting that lead, and even though you make it 5-4, they come back with 8 in the bottom of the fifth and really start to separate themselves. Pitching slacked a little bit there at the end, some errors, but they're able to pull it out and at the very end.
Yeah, definitely. And with this win, Regis also lost game 3. So it was making an interesting, afternoon on Saturday with game 4s in both those games. As if
Mhm.
Regis had lost and Colorado Christian wins, Colorado Christian, they're in. They're that 6th seed. Uh, you know, one, looking at the box score here for Colorado Christian, I mean, Gregory Rangel has had an absolute great season, for the Cougars. Great game this game, 5 for 5 with 7 RBIs, 2 runs, and 2 doubles. He's showed up, week after week, game after game, for the Cougars. A great season. Kind of, it's always sad when you're watch these guys all season and kiss that last game and then it's done. But Rangel,
Mhm.
he had a great year. So did Hagel, Pitt, and Hinsey, for that matter as well. So great job by those guys. But we're looking at game 4, and their playoff hopes are still alive. And uh, just kind of looking here at game 4, and this one was a fun one. Going into the bottom of the fifth, it was 2-1 New Mexico Highlands, and Cade Lacey doubles to right field, bringing in a run to tie it at 2-2. Uh, Carl Christian scores 4 runs in the fifth to take a 5-2 lead, but then Highlands in the top of the fifth, Jonathan Davis, he hits a solo shot, making it 5-3. Then in the sixth, Levy Marujo, he ties it at 5-5 with a single to left center. In the bottom of the sixth, though, we have Gregory Rangel. He responds with a solo shot. This one puts the Cougars ahead 6-5, while Highlands will tie it in top of the fifth with Ryan Rodriguez hitting an RBI single to left field. In the bottom of the seventh, Taylor McLeod. He's going to hit the single that brings in Aiden Welsh, making it 7-6, and the Cougars are walking it off. With the 7-6 win and winning the series here 3-1, keeping their playoff hopes alive and kind of hinging on the outcome of that Regis game, which unfortunately for the Cougars didn't turn out the way that they wanted, ending their season with this dramatic walk off win.
Well, I mean, there's a couple things here. I mean, one, Colorado Christian won before we knew the outcome of that Adams and Regis game. And with Christian walking it off, you're looking at the Adams and Regis game, figuring out, all right, if Regis loses, then we're in. But ultimately, Regis was able to pull away, and they had 7-run lead. But the game ended up being called to daylight, and I don't know if Adams would have came back, but you can always play the what if game. But you know, regardless, this was a great way for Colorado Christian to end their year. You can't really think of a whole lot more than having a walk-off win in your very last home game, and then your very last game of your season for some of these seniors. I mean, pitching did really well. That all the way to the fourth inning, we really didn't see a whole lot of scoring. And both sides did really well. And at the end of the day, Colorado Christian was able to get that 4 spot in the fifth inning, and then Highlands creep back a little bit. But at the end of the day, they're able to put it over the top there.
Yeah, and for Highlands, Brion, again 2-6 on the season. I say this a lot for a lot of these Highlands pitchers, but Brion being a true freshman, absolutely phenomenal year, and he was one of those arms, just like Andrew Baltazar, who Highlands really relied upon in going deep into a lot of games, and Brion did it again here with 6 innings in a 7-inning game, um, gave up 7 runs, but he has just endurance and a lot of potential from this kid, and very excited to watch him at New Mexico Highlands in the years to come.
And New Mexico Highlands is one of those other teams that has a young core as well. And we mentioned that they're going in the right direction, and if they're able to get some pieces and be able to get some things to go their way in some of these games, then they're going to be right there in the mix for playoffs next year.
Indeed. Let's take a look then at our next series here, and we have UCCS. They score 4 in the top of the second, and behind a Bryce Peterson single to right field that brings in Quinn Meaden. In the bottom of the third, Jimmy Peltier, he's going to tie it up with a 2 RBI single up the middle here, making the score 4-4. In the top of the seventh, we have UCCS's Bryce Peterson again. He has a double down the left field, bringing in Matthew Shipley, and the Mountain Lions are going to retake the lead at 5-4. In the bottom of the seventh, Pueblo, they're going to come back. Cooper Latino, he doubles down the left field line. This is going to bring the Thunderwolves within 1 at 6-5. But still in the seventh, Jason Ariola, he singles, kind of hits one to the pitcher that the pitcher can't get to the first baseman for the out. That's going to tie it at 6-6. But in the top of the ninth, UCCS's Bryce Peterson. I mean, he's just a hitting machine. He does it again. This time he hits a single through the left field side here, and he brings in Quinn Medin again, putting the Mountain Lions up 7-6, and they take it 7-6. Starting the series off at 1-0, and this series, how we talked about. I mean, you have Mesa versus MSU Denver. I mean, kind of a series of the week. With 1 and 2 going head to head. I mean, this one here, UCCS and Pueblo, kind of expecting this to be a great series, and it started off not disappointing by any stretch of the imagination.
This was a great start to the series. I mean, you look at Pueblo last week, and you look at UCCS the past week as well. I mean, they're kind of on two polar opposites. CSUP was coming in hot, UCCS was coming a little bit cold, but Bryce Peterson was able to show up today. I mean, he did fantastic, and then also a big bounce back performance by Ryder Mancuso, being able to go 7 innings and really limit CSUP the best to his abilities, and then the Mountain Lions pitching being able to come back and really close out the game here. I mean, between Liam Whalen and James, being able to really shut down the Wolves here. They made it a game. It was a game throughout. I mean, you get a tie game until the fifth inning, and then they come back with 2 in the bottom of the seventh, and you're sitting at 6-6, top 9. It's anybody's game at that point. It's going to go pitch by pitch, but at the end of the day, Pueblo just made more mistakes than UCCS.
Yeah, and Bryce Peterson, definitely a good, asset to have on any team. And, UCCS is, definitely thankful to have him going 4 for 5, 2 RBIs, a run with a double. On the other side for Pueblo, Cooper Latino, he gets up on there 1 for 3 with an RBI, run and a double. He ends up having a great, series, which we'll kind of, get into here in a little bit. But yeah, for UCCS, basically they get this win. They solidify that third seed. They would be able to drop to fourth. Pueblo was fourth. They Pueblo basically need a sweep in order to leapfrog over the mountain lions, but that did not occur. And of course, then with MSU Denver winning that first game in that series with Mesa, that solidified them, getting the second seed. So at this point, after game one here, the 1 through 5 are already decided, and it's just kind of down to that sixth seed. But yeah, definitely a great way to start this series, and I made it definitely a fun series to watch here. Let's take a look at game two. Game two, this one was kind of a dramatic game as well. We're going to start off in the top of the sixth here. UCCS trailing 6-5. In the top of six, Glenn Meaden, he singles center field, basically tying the score at 6-6. In the top of the sixth still, Matthew Shipley, he singles the center, and the Mountain Lions take a 7-6 lead. But in the bottom of the sixth, Tyler Clements, he doubles down the right field line, bringing in Jeremiah Sanchez, and they're getting tied at 7-7. And in the bottom of the eighth, we see Cooper Latino up here. He is a single to right field. That's going to bring in Ramirez, putting Pueblo up 8-7 and walking it off for the walk-off win. 8-7 win, and series is now tied at 1-1. So pretty impressive by the Thunderwolves as well after losing game one, not having any shot to move up, better your seedings. Definitely not going to decrease in the seedings. So not a whole lot to really play for at this point. But yeah, they really came out and played to the end and get that exciting walk off single by Cooper. Uh, Great way to see him kind of have another big game in this series, and yeah, good win for the Mountain Lions.
Another close game. I mean, you get another one-run game here. I mean, this is going to be really exciting once we get in the tournament with them playing each other. But I will say, I was very, I was sad that UCCS lost, but I was very happy because it went into extra innings, and that was my bold prediction last week. That one. So when I saw that, I was like, I turned to my wife and I was like, I actually got it correct. And I was like, wow, look at that. So I was pretty happy with myself for, about 15 minutes. But, great game by CSUP being able to come back and being able to walk it off there. I mean, UCCS comes back and makes it a ball game in that sixth inning. And, Pueblo adds one to tie it back up. But, we go in a scoreless seventh inning, nothing happens. And, being able to really push it over the edge there. I mean, you get some good pitching performance there. I mean, Jack Novak, coming in clutch for the Thunderwolves, and just timely hitting as well. I mean, again, UCCS made more mistakes than CSUP, and it was right there. And important note, Trevor Dale added to his home run lead in the RMAC, and I think he finished with 25, 24, 25, something to that extent. But um, you know, just this is gonna be really exciting once we get into the RMAC. We're gonna get a fifth game out of both of these teams.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, shows you how ridiculous it is that we have to like pause, like, oh yeah, Trevor Dale, he hit a home run. I mean, it's just something like you see it happen all the time. You just kind of expect him to do it, and so it's not really a that big of a thing when he actually gets it done. And he actually ended the season here with regular season with 27 home runs. I mean, just yeah, absolutely, yeah, amazing year from him. Kind of like I said, you just kind of expect that out of him anymore. He's kind of set that bar and standard so high. Just an impressive season from him.
And what I'll say real quick is, through the first two games, Pueblo's done very well at minimizing this UCCS offense so far. I mean, box scores, they're very close, but being able to minimize this UCCS offense how they are right now, I mean, leading the nation in home runs and leading the RMAC in home runs by a good amount, you're not seeing a whole lot there. And CSU Pueblo's field doesn't really play as much as a hitter's ballpark, obviously, but you know being able to have these close games and minimize the best of their abilities is really good.
Indeed. And moving to game three, which I think was interesting in many respects. Let's take a look at this one here. We're going to start this one off in the top of the first. We have James Harbison. He doubles to right field, bringing in Bryce Peterson, putting the Mountain Lions on top 1-0. Then, still in the top of the first, Trevor Dale, surprise, he hits a two-run shot, making it 3-1 Mountain Lions. In the top of the fourth, Carl Springs, Nolan Oliver, he singles right field, bringing in Trevor Dale, making it 4-0 Mountain Lions. In the seventh inning, the bottom of the seventh, the Thunderbolts get on the board with this Cooper Latino sacrifice fly, bringing in Jason Ariola, making it 4-1. But that's how it's going to end with UCCS getting this game three 4-1, taking the series lead at 2-1. And pitching was kind of the story in this one for the Mountain Lions.
Well, I mean, first of all, great job on both sides with pitching. I mean, being able to limit that UCCS offense like we were just talking about. You get three in the first, and then you're like, all right, what is this going to turn into? But really limiting the rest of the way, and great game from Fink here. Two hits, only allowing two hits and one run, and one of them being a home run. I mean, you're going into the last inning with one hit. I mean, really good job overall. It's first start since he was put back in the bullpen, and he definitely delivered. Really big time performance coming out of his last regular season start. We'll see if he gets one in the RMAC tournament or not. But I mean, you can't ask for more. I mean, you go 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 run in the RMAC, and he's letting his defense work, obviously based off of only having 3 Ks and 2 base on balls. But that Mountain Lion defense was working as well.
Yeah, and it's tough pitching in the RMAC, but Fink is a stud and uh, great career from him. Yeah, it was fun, watching him. Yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping we see him get a start in the conference tournament here, and but definitely we're going to see him make a big contribution for sure. Uh, just quickly, James Harbison went 1 for 3 with the RBI and a run. He's one of those guys. Look back at game two, I think it was. He came in and not sure if he got the win or what it was. But maybe it was game one. I can't remember. But he's one of those guys that gets it done like on the mound and at the plate. And
Mhm.
same on the other side, Tyler Clements, for Pueblo. Yeah, gets it done on the mound and at the plate for them. And you kind of see some of that in the RMAC. You have Osaias, Iniosa for Adam State. He does that as well. But yeah, these two and Osaias, they kind of do it at a different level. They get good production, in both areas, which I guess maybe it's more common than I realize. But I guess I haven't seen it a whole lot to the extent that they're able to get it done.
And side note, based off of last week with all the football scores that we have, it's being a pitcher, it's very nice to see a lot of these low scoring games right now.
There you go. There you go. Let's then take a look at the final game of this series. Game four, UCCS is up 1-0 in the top of the second, and Tyler Genrich, he doubles left field, bringing in one to make it 2-0. Then going into the bottom of the second, we're going to have Pueblo's Jeremiah Sanchez. He's going to hit a triple down the right field line. It's going to bases are loaded. It's going to clear those, bringing in three, and Pueblo's going to take the lead at 3-2. The Thunderbolts then extend that lead to 6-3 into the top of the sixth when UCCS as Matthew Shipley singles to right field, bringing in two. basically cutting Pueblo's lead to 6-5. Pueblo responds by scoring 7 runs in the bottom of the seventh. Behind Jimmy Pelletier's double to left center, which also clears the bases, bringing in 3. Then in the bottom of the eighth, Pueblo's going to add on, 4 more behind, Dax Howard's 3-run shot here, and Pueblo's going to end up winning this one 17-5 in order to split that series at 2-2. And you know, Dax Howard, a young player at Pueblo, uh, great player. He's had a great season. Good to see him. Nice to see him hit that 3-run shot there at the end. Um, but yeah, Thunderwolves came out to play, scoring 17 runs. Just a very good, basically dominant performance by Pueblo as they get ready to head into the conference tournament.
Yeah, and it's got to feel good going in the conference tournament. I mean, especially these seniors with their last home game. Both of these teams are able to play in the conference tournament and get some more baseball. But you can't ask for much more in your last home game at CSUP, being able to put up 17 runs and beat UCCS. I mean, overall, this was a really close series for the entire series, other than these last couple of innings here. CSUP was just able to pull away and really get some hitting, and this is going to be exciting. They split the series 2-2, and we're going to get a game 5, and we're going to see who's going to be able to win it. And you can't ask for much better first round matchup than these two right now. I mean, every single game being close, other than this last one here with Pueblo pulling away at the very end. But you know really good job, Pueblo finishing their season, and UCCS finishing their season going into the RMAC.
Yeah, and I say a dominant performance by Pueblo, but I guess I'm thinking you limit UCCS to 5 runs,
Exactly.
through that game, and yeah, that in and of itself is impressive. And then are fighting in this game, and you end up scoring 11 runs in the last 2 innings. I mean, that's just a great outing, by the Thunderwolves. A great way to end the season and end this series, especially against a team that yeah, you're probably gonna end up seeing, at some point. In fact, they play in round one here, so
Yep.
knowing that you split that series 2-2, and kind of got that nice, you know, big win with those last 2 innings, really, I think it's going to be a momentum builder for them to kind of take into the tournament in game 1 here.
Well, and CSU's pitching has got to feel really good right now. I mean, you limit the best offense in the RMAC right now to they don't score more than 8 runs in a game. I mean, they've been scoring 10, 20 plus runs in baseball games this year, and they don't score over 8 runs one time. CSUP's pitching has to feel pretty good going into the RMAC tournament right now.
Yeah, definitely, and that's like what if you can get some good pitching in the tournament, that goes a long way to making
Yeah.
a good run. All right, let's then take a look at our uh, last RMAC series of the uh, weekend, and that was going to be Mesa versus MSU Denver down in Denver. And in the bottom of the third, Royce Van Dyne, he's going to hit a grand slam, uh, basically putting the Roadrunners up 6-1 at that point. They ended up scoring 9 in the third inning, alone. In the basically the top of the sixth, Mesa's Ezra Farmer. He's going to hit double down the left field line. That's going to clear the bases, bring in 3 runs. It's going to make it 10-6. MSU Denver after they're up 10-1. At one point. Then in the top of the seventh, Cameron Cartwright, he hits a 3-run shot, giving Mesa the lead 11-10 after again being down 9 runs. But in the bottom of the seventh, Jared Swarbrook, he reaches on a fielder's choice here, but basically it ties that score at 11-11. And then in the bottom of the eighth, we have Royce Van Dyne again getting a solo home run, making it 12-11. And MSU Denver takes game 1, giving Mesa their first conference loss of the season. And they made it interesting. I mean, they get up 10-1. You're thinking, oh wow, this is pretty astonishing. I mean, I don't think anyone is really expecting that. Not surprised to see Mesa come back, and take that lead. But for MSU Denver then did not get down, to not kind of have that momentum totally and completely shift to Mesa and just be deflated and give up, but to come back in the bottom of the seventh and tie it in the bottom of the eighth to take that 1-run lead and win it. I mean, that's an impressive showing by the Roadrunner team.
Yeah, and down goes number one. I mean, big game for Royce there. I mean, you hit a home run, you hit two home runs, grand slam, and a 2-run home run against the number one team in the nation, number one team in the RMAC, and some big time pitching performances late by Carter there. I mean, you go two innings, shutout baseball, give your team the win at the very end. I mean, you watch this game through the first 4 innings. It's all MSU Denver, and you're like, what the heck is going on? And as soon as that sixth inning comes, it gets flipped. Game gets flipped on their head. Mesa takes the lead, and you're like, all right, are they going to be able to kind of smooth sailing into the end here? And Royce is able to get a big home run at the very end and really push MSU Denver over. You know, we didn't know if Mesa would lose a game or not going to the tournament. I do think it is actually a good thing that Mesa ended up losing a game. You see a lot of these professional teams or better teams end up losing games later in the season, and they say that it's a learning experience, learning from it, and hopefully they can build on that going into the RMAC tournament. I mean, but on the flip side, it shows MSU Denver can beat Mesa. And that also shows that Mesa is beatable right now in the RMAC. Like we said, any team can beat any team.
Yes, and Caleb Reuter, he got the start for Mesa. Did not go the way that he expected, or I think anyone expected. Just getting 2 innings in. But I will say one thing: Reuter's had a couple games that, even though they're not bad games, they're not to the standard or the quality that you have come to expect out of Caleb. And at no point has there ever been 2 games in a row like that. So yeah,
Hmm.
I feel sorry for Regis, to come up, because I have a feeling he'll be more likely pitching, game one here. But yeah, I totally expect him to, when he does get into the tournament, whether it's game one or whenever it is, uh, he's going to have a dominant performance, no doubt.
I completely agree. I expect a bounce back performance from him in the tournament, whether it's game one or game two, whenever he throws.
And talk about it being a good thing. In this game two, it's basically all Mesa. In the top of the second, Cartwright, he has a 2-run home run to left field. In the top of the fourth, Cartwright, he has a 2-run home run to left field. Just kind of a broken record here, and Mesa's up 7-0. Then in the top of the sixth, Tate Lazy, he hits a 3-run home run to center field, making 11-0. And Mavericks are going to end up winning this one 13-1. And I think this is kind of what you're talking about with, yeah, not always a bad thing to lose a game and taking that as a learning experience. And boy, they
Mhm.
clearly did here.
Yeah, I mean, they're firing on all cylinders this game. I mean, offense, defense, pitching. I mean, Jackson Eisenhower going in and only giving up one hit, one run. I mean, he had a perfect game going there for a little bit, and he almost got there. He got really close to getting there. And Mesa just absolutely just kept adding on, adding on, and adding on, and MSU Denver just didn't have an answer to this game. They were able to squeak by in that first game, but this was all Mesa.
Yeah, and Eisenhower, another great start, out of him, the true freshman. I mean, I don't know how he doesn't get freshman, pitcher of the year award this year in the RMAC. Phenomenal season, 8-1, and 8-1. That does tell the story. I mean, he was that good this year. Uh, you know, one hit, no earned runs. Just yeah, absolutely phenomenal outing for him. Phenomenal year. Looking forward to watching him in the tournament and then in the national tournament as well.
I'll be interested to see where they end up throwing him in the RMAC tournament, whether they give him the game one start when they have Regis, or if they wait a little bit longer to see if they get an MSU Denver, they get a UCCS, or they get a CSUP, to see if they try to play a matchup from that perspective and kind of go from there. But I mean, you can't ask for a much better performance to finish out your freshman year. I mean, you give up one run, you don't give up an earned run, but you give up there. There's one run that's given up, but I mean, you can't ask for much more.
Yeah, and I talk about pitcher of the year awards. I mean, not only would he win the freshman pitcher of the year, but I mean, he'd be in contention for just the pitcher of the year award. I mean, the others would be Caleb Reuter, Jake Syverson on the other side of this game here. Uh, you know, Jake obviously didn't have the outing that he is typically has and that he's used to. I mean, 6-1 in the year. This is his one and only loss on the season. Rough one. With you know, the Roadrunners bats not going quite like they were in game one, but Jake had a great year, and going to be fun to watch him play pitch in the tournament and see if they can make that national tournament as well. But I mean, when you kind of talk about some of the best pitchers in the conference, Jake and Caleb and I mean Jackson Eisenhower. I mean, he's right there. I mean, I don't know if there's some rule against giving a player freshman pitcher of the year and pitcher of the year award, but they might have to eliminate or get rid of that rule if there is one this year. This kid was absolutely impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's then go. Then we'll take a look at game three. Here the series is tied at 1-1. Oh, we have Mesa up 1-0, and Tay Blasey, he hits a home run to left field in the top of the fourth, but in the bottom of the fourth, Lathan Buzzard, he hits a home run. This one a 2-run shot. Basically tying this game at 2-2. Colby Felix, he comes up in the top of the fifth. He does his thing with a home run to left field, giving the Mavericks the lead back at 3-2. In the top of the fifth, still Kenny Hara. He has a home run to left center, a solo shot, making it 4-2. In the top of the fifth, still we have Tate Blasey. This is the second of the game, a solo shot, making it 5-2. And Mesa, they just kind of roll to a win here, 9-3. Go up in the series, 2-1. Um, you know, yeah, you kind of, I guess, poked the bear that first game. Getting that win and yeah, kind of learning from it and taking care of business these next two games.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Kobe Felix being able to hit a home run is great. Wasn't able to do a whole lot the first couple games, but being able to make an impact when it mattered, that's just what he's done all year. But a little bit back and forth. Mesa jumped out. It was a close game early. Fourth inning, you get a tie game. Mesa goes back up by one in the fifth inning, and you get some scoreless baseball until you get to that fifth or to that eighth inning, and you get a 5 spot, and that's really the game at that point. But Mesa gets 16 hits, no errors, and then only 5 hits for MSU Denver. I mean, they got a lot of their runs off of the long ball in this one, but overall clean baseball that you see, and you expect that out of the top two teams in the conference, clean baseball, and some close games. But I kind of agree with you. Maybe MSU Denver poked the bear a little bit, and you know wasn't too happy.
Yep.
And just being able to come back and I think the box score is a little bit convincing, saying Mesa, did really well in majority of the aspects of the game. I mean, anytime you can and tally 16 hits is awesome.
Definitely. And Rafael Espinoza, another true freshman that Mesa has, you know, as a starting pitcher. I mean, he wasn't in that rotation at the very beginning of the year, but kind of came in about a third of the way, half the way through. 5-0 on the season. He just for him to go out there, give up just 2 hits, 2 earned runs to a MSU Denver Roadrunner team that is just stacked with power at the plate. Absolutely impressive. Both him, and Eisenhower. I mean, two. true freshman pitchers. They're just unbelievable performances out of both of them, and Espinoza to come out and kind of set the tone and make sure that Mesa was not getting down big, kind of like it did in that first game, but being there and yeah, making them in their kind of comfort zone of we can easily score 4 or 5 runs in any given inning, and they did in that eighth inning, and basically take this game 3.
Well, and especially you look at these two freshmen thrown the last two games. I mean, they're able to limit, MSU Denver in 13 innings that they've pitched combined roughly, and they give up 3 hits
Yeah,
in 12 innings. I mean, it's like holy crap! Like, all right, they're showing out when they need to, and they're just shoving. I mean, giving up 3 hits in 13 innings from two freshmen is special.
yeah, definitely. Yes, and special. I mean, that's an understatement. But I don't know what it's just absolutely unbelievable. Like, but yeah, very very special, and very bright future for both of them. It's gonna be fun in the
Definitely.
conference tournament and national.
Hmm.
Well, let's take a look at the last game here, game 4. It's going to start off top of the second. Noah Neufeld, he singles, bringing in 2 runs, giving Mesa a 2-0 lead. In the top of the fourth, Noah Neufeld again. He hits a solo shot here. He's going to put Mesa up, 5-1 at this point. In the top of the seventh, Colby Felix, he doubles down to right center, bringing in uh, Joey Blank, giving Mesa an 8-1 lead. And then in the top of the seventh, still Ezra Farmer, he doubles to right center, bringing in 2. And I mean, that's kind of the icing on the cake on that one. Basically, Mesa is going to take this one 10-1. I mean, yeah, the third game in a row after that loss. Just very limiting New Mexico, or geez, MSU Denver's offense significantly again for the third game in a row. I mean, that's kind of the most impressive thing, I guess, to me is after that first game, loss where it's 12-11. You get to game 2, and it's 13-1. It's just giving the Roadrunners only getting 1 run. In game 3, it's 9-3 Mesa. So just 4 runs there, and here 10-1. I mean, basically 5 runs in that last 3 games of this series. I mean, definitely a statement bounce back here after giving up that game in game 1.
Definitely. I mean, you look at this and you're like, is this the same one as earlier? Like, is this game two again, or what's going on here? Like, after that game one, pitching just absolutely locked down. I think 23 innings, I believe you allow 6 or 7 runs, probably set or hits, and you just completely minimize everyone. You get 1 hit in game two, you get 5 hits in game three, and then game four is another 1 hit. It's like, all right, well, this Mesa team might be a little bit scary with they can hit when they need a hit, but I mean they just prove that they can pitch lights out when they need to. I mean, I don't know if it was them losing that first game and the bear being poked, and it's like, all right, we're gonna throw everything you have at you, but it you hardly ever see any of these RMAC games, let alone two RMAC games, finish with 1 hit. I mean, like I said earlier, a complete polar opposite from the week prior, and all of the offense that was there. I mean, a lot of pitching showed up, and you know, big pitching moments. Teams showed up when they needed to, but I mean, limiting this MSU Denver offense, and they're frankly going into the tournament ice cold after being minimized after that first game, and they end up drawing mines in the first round. But is it going to carry over? Are those bats going to show up? What's going to happen? I think the MSU pitching staff did well overall with what they were handed, but the bats just didn't show up this series, and I am a little bit concerned going into the tournament if are they going to show up, or are they going to return to where they usually are, or what, because this this Mesa team or this Metro team is right behind UCCS in hitting.
And I mean, granted, Mesa is the number one team in the nation. And have has an amazing, pitching staff, starting pitching rotation. Um, but yeah, to kind of limit the Roadrunner team the way they did the last few games, remarkable. Kind of like we talked about after that game one loss for Mesa, how hey, a loss can be a good thing. I mean,
Mhm.
this could kind of be a wake up call for MSU Denver as well. These last few games, like, hey, we they're a lot better than what they put up on the scoreboard those last three games, even though it was against the number one team in the nation. And I think that a lot of those guys, Alec Martinez, Royce Van Dyne. I mean, they're not you know Marcus Abelholsen. They're not pleased and satisfied with this at all. And I could see them kind of coming out and taking that out on some teams in the conference tournament here this week.
Yeah, and looking at the bigger picture, this is exactly what you want from Mesa. I mean, even though you lose that one game, but you come back with three, just stellar pitching performances, and your offense shows up. I mean, in the big picture of things, this is exactly what you want going in the RMAC tournament and beyond.
Indeed. So our last game of the weekend was a non-conference matchup between Colorado Mines and uh, MSU Billings. MSU Billings end up taking the first game here 13-2. The highlight for Mines in this one was a Jackson Babcock solo shot, in the seventh inning, making, cutting that, you know, Billings lead to 5-2. But yeah, it was just kind of all Billings in this one. In the bottom of the seventh, MSU Billings, they score eight. I end up winning it 13-2. It is it's a trek up there from Golden to Billings, Montana. You know, I I can't help but think that that had a little bit to do with the performance and kind of the slow start they got off to here, in game one. But yeah, Jackson Babcock, he's a stud, has a great season. Expect him to have a good, tournament showing as well. And, he kind of got things, going. And yeah, there's definitely better games in this series for the Ore Diggers.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this, they're locked in into their seed, and they're not going to move, whether wins or losses based off of this point in the tournament. They're really just trying to go in and get some feel good from a pitching standpoint and a hitting standpoint. And, pitching did relatively well until that sixth and seventh inning. I mean, getting that eighth spot in that seventh inning is definitely killer. And, the defense just wasn't able to play to their standards that they wanted. I mean, having five errors any day is not going to help you a whole lot. You're not going to win a lot of baseball games when you get five errors, but, you know, it was in reach for a little bit until the very end.
Yep, it was. In game two, MSU Billings, they get up 6-0 after three. In the top of the sixth, Tyler Hummel, he doubles down to right field, bring in Jackson Babcock to get the Ore Diggers on the board. Jackson Babcock, he gets a 3-run home run in the seventh. Evan Bilter gets a 2-run single, in the eighth. And the Ore Diggers go up two at that point, 8-6. Um, yeah, but MSU Billings end up walking it off in this one off of a Jason Wright 2-run home run in the bottom of the 11th. Kind of a, I mean, they're right there. Should have had this one. It didn't go their way. I mean, that's the way it goes. But you know, showing up and competing against a team on the road is always a good thing to see and a good experience to have going into the tournament.
Definitely. I mean, I just said you're not going to win a lot of games when you have five errors, and Billings just did, but it helps when you get somebody else to have four errors as well. But I mean, yeah, killer for mines here. I mean, 2-run home run to win the game. I mean, hats off to Jason Wright. I mean, he had a fantastic game here. I mean, six RBIs, going 4 for 7. But this is probably one that got slipped away a little bit. Billings was up early, but Mines was able to battle back, which is something that you like to see coming into tournament play, and they just weren't able to finish it at the very end. I mean, you see that Billings was able to tie it up back in the ninth, and then nothing in the 10th, but the 11th being able to come back and put the game away is something that Mines doesn't really want to see right now.
And take a look at the stat line for Jackson K. 2.2 innings pitched, 5 hits, 6 runs, only 1 earned. I mean, that's just got to be, as a pitcher, that's got to be tough. Tough to swallow that. But Jackson's had a great season. Kind of like with Caleb Reuter, that we're talking about. He every now and then is going to have a outing that is not consistent with the numbers that you typically see and expect to see from him. I mean, it's the same thing with Jackson K. Just like we never have 2 outings in a row of, yeah, I didn't expect this. I mean, definitely, see him bouncing back and being dominant in his tournament appearance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anytime that you give up one earned run and 6 runs total, it's definitely tough. I mean, you're out there battling, but the defense just isn't able to pick you up that day, and that just happens. And you just got to go next pitch. I can only do what I can do. I can only control what I control, and it's from that ball in my hand to once it leaves my hand. Anything can happen at that point, and it's not in my control anymore. So as long as he's got a good mindset going in the tournament, I think he'll be okay.
Yep, definitely. No, so this was a 3-game series, and this is game 3 here. Carl Mines ends up winning this one 13-4. Some of the big highlights here. You had Brody Duvall. He got a RBI single in the second to give Mines the lead 3-2. In the top of the fourth, Evan Bilder, he brings in 2 on a single. Basically, Mines is going to retake the lead at that point at 6-4. And then in the top of the ninth, Evan Belter, he hits a 3-run home run, making it 13-4. And got to be a good way to close out this series where, yeah, you have that slow start in game 1. Have game 2 where, quite frankly, just kind of let it slip through their fingers. And game 3 here having a very good dominant performance. Getting the big win here, and yeah, I mean that has to make that ride back to Golden a lot more comfortable, a lot better, and kind of on a good note going into the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely wouldn't want to lose 3 straight games going in the tournament, but looking at this, Mines jumps out to the early 1-0 lead. Billings comes back 2-1, and then Mines makes it 4-2, and then Billings comes back and makes it a ball game here at 4-4, and it's like, all right, what's going to happen here? But Mines is able to put them away. Mines is able to add those runs in the fourth and the sixth and the ninth, and pitching just absolutely showed up here at the very end, and being able to not really give up any runs at all after the third inning is something that you really want to look at going into the tournament, because at the end of the day, you can slug out a couple games in the tournament, but it's going to be who has the most pitching at the end of the day. And, being able to build off of that and, having some other guys feed off of that is going to be good for Mines going in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. And Jackson Babcock, a great series for him, a great season for him. Same for Evan Bilter. Both those guys basically playing very good baseball at the end of this season here, and yeah, there's time to be playing great baseball. It's now.
Exactly.
Well, we've been talking about the tournament, enough. So let's kind of finally take a look here at the bracket, and we're gonna have as far as the games, the start of the games tomorrow, the 11 o'clock game, and we're gonna have MSU Denver versus the Ore Diggers that we just saw. Talked about playing up in Billings. Coming back from Billings to Golden, and then heading out west to Grand Junction, where they're going to meet the Roadrunners. So you kind of talked earlier, it might be a little cold after the last 3 games of that Mesa series. But yeah, what are your thoughts? What are your kind of expectations? What do you expect to see out of this MSU Denver Carl School of Mines first game for the tournament?
Well, I definitely am a little bit worried with Metro's bats going into the tournament, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think, they are going to be able to handle Mines in this first game. I mean, they are the 2 seed for a reason. They have played well all year. I don't think one series is going to really change that. I mean, just the other week we saw them put 26 runs up on UCCS. I mean, or 29 runs, 26 runs. But, just I think that the bats are going to be okay. And getting down here a little bit early. I think a lot of the teams ended up getting down here a little bit early just because of some weather moving in. But getting adjusted is going to be the big thing here. I mean, you're going to have all the teams here. Some teams have played here already. Some teams haven't played here so far this year. But I think Metro is going to be okay, and I think Metro is going to be able to get over on Mines and really be able to. I think it'll be a close game ish, but I expect MSU Denver to win this one.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. The Four Diggers pitching, especially their starting pitching, hasn't been the greatest, this year. I'm
Mhm.
not sure what they're going to do as far as pitching into the tournament here, who they're going to start with. I'd personally, I'd probably start with Jackson K this first game and see if you can't keep the Roadrunners kind of cold streak down, and steal that first game of the series here. But at the same time, I just don't know that they're going to have 4 games here straight where those bats are not making a lot of noise. Like I said, Alex Martinez, Abelhausen, Royce. I mean, they're too good of hitters to not put up big numbers, and I expect them to put up some big numbers and take this first game as well.
I completely agree.
Then looking at that second game, we're going to have UCCS versus Pueblo. We got the rematch of this last weekend where the two teams split that series 2-2. I mean, this is definitely going to probably be the game of the day here.
I agree. This is gonna be exciting. We get in game number 5. I'll be able to go to this one in person, and being able to watch this one will be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this. We'll see if Pueblo is able to continue to keep the UCCS bats a little bit cooler on the cooler side. With they've been scorching hot all year. But then we'll also see on the UCCS side, are they able to pick up the bats a little show up like it did last week, or what's really going to happen. I think you know everything this past series that we had between both of these teams is going to be an extremely close game, and it's going to be decided by 1 or 2 plays with this one. I think this is going to be our closest game of all the matchups to start with. But I gotta pick UCCS. I can't pick CSUP. I got UCCS. I think they'll win by a couple runs. And it's going to be really close. Are they able to make pitches here and there when it really matters? I think that's what it's going to come down to. Or we could just see them explode as well. They didn't explode for a whole lot of runs the first 4 games of the series, but you don't know what you're going to get, and see if Pueblo's able to minimize and make some timely hitting. But I think this is going to be a pretty close game, and I'll take UCCS to edge out CSUP. And CSUP's playoff history as of recent hasn't been super great either.
You know, Pueblo's they're probably the most frustrating team in the conference the first half of the season. Just not playing up to the potential of the talent that's on that team. Latino and Sanchez, Kelly, Howard. I mean, just yeah, so much talent there. They just weren't showing up. They weren't getting the job. I mean, I totally expected them to have a significantly better record halfway through the regular season, but the last half of the season, I mean, wow, they're the team that I kind of expect them to be, taking 3 out of 1 from MSU Denver. Splitting this big series here with UCCS. I mean, it's while after that first game, they weren't playing for any different seeding or anything like that, but at the same time, you're going to be playing this team in the tournament. You know that hey, you want to send a message, and both these teams have did send a message that series like, hey, this is going to be a dogfight, and I think that's what we're going to see. If there's any certain certainty out of this game, it's going to be that Bryce Peterson is going to have a big game for UCCS. I mean, uh, as far as we're talking about some awards, the Player of the Year award. To me, it comes down to Felix and Peterson, and I think you give it to Felix, but boy, Bryce has had an amazing year, um, and he's going to continue that into this tournament. And yeah, no doubt he's going to have a big game, and I think he's going to end up carrying the Mountain Lions to the win in this first game here. Then take a look at that game on top there. It'll be this night game, Mesa versus Regis. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this one? Like, let me ask you this: like, being a former pitcher, in the RMAC, having been to some conference tournaments, and kind of having an idea of how I guess can you explain to me what is kind of the thoughts of the coaching staff as far as how you're going to approach the pitching rotation, and who's going to be pitching, who's going to be on the mound, for the first couple rounds, anyways.
Well, I mean, there's two thought processes. I mean, you can either go with somebody that has done well against this team beforehand, whether it's, it doesn't matter who it is, or you can go with who you're usually going to send out on your first day. And, if it's a Friday game, Thursday game, whatever it is, whoever your game one starter is going to be and try to get that win. And, obviously you getting that first win, second win puts you in a really good position. And, if you lose that first game, you're really putting your back against the wall. But at the same time, I would say you look at the top three teams that we have here with Mesa, UCCS, and Metro, all three of these teams can make deep runs into this tournament, and it's really going to come down to one, if you get your game one starter and he goes long, all right, he can probably come back at the very end of this tournament and throw, depending on, if he throws 90, 100 pitches or so. And then you're really going to have to count on your bullpen being able to come up in big situations. That's really what's going to determine if you move on or not. And then really you're going to need some performances out of some guys that you're not expecting. Some guys are going to have to show up that haven't showed up for majority of the year, and you might have to go out there and throw somebody and you're like, I don't know how he's going to do, but we're going to see what happens. Usually you have a general layout of, you walk through, all right, this game, this is what we're going to do. You have a general layout of, if we get to this situation, we're going to throw this arm or this arm. And then if we're up by a lot, down by a lot, you have your guys as well. But, that's already kind of situated throughout the year. And then as you get deeper in the tournament, it's like, all right, who's available? Can I have somebody ready to throw that threw yesterday, or somebody that is, hasn't thrown for a little bit? But I expect, majority of these arms to be thrown.
Yeah, and with Mesa, there's just so many to pick from. I mean, I think of all the teams, like, I definitely would want to be the pitching coach for Mesa, and having to, oh yeah, who should we put up there? Like, it's like just kind of flip a coin, or just pick you. You go out there. I mean, the pitching staff has just been so impressive, this entire season. And I think that this is to be too much for Regis, in this first game, and I think Mesa's gonna go on to the quarterfinal round.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, the pitching is going to be too much. The hitting is going to be too much. I mean, Mesa's leading the league in ERA, and we just saw that they threw out 2 one-hit performances this past week against the number 2 team in the conference. I mean, I would be utterly shocked if Regis ended up winning this one. I'm sure that it'll be a good fight, and it can be a close game if Regis minimizes their mistakes and pitching shows up. I'm not 100% sure on who they'll throw for first game, but they can make it a game, and if they come out swinging, they can punch Mesa in the mouth and really put them on their heels, that under the lights, and it's all right, here we go, because that's exactly what Metro did that first game of this series. They came out early, kind of punched Mesa in the mouth, and was like, we're here ready to play. And then we saw Mesa end up coming back and taking the lead, but ultimately MSU Denver took that. It is a possibility. It is going to take a lot for Regis to do, but I think Mesa will win this one. I think pitching will show up once again, and bats will show up again.
Yeah, and being at home has to be nice.
Another,
Playing it.
yeah.
All right, let's quickly then. So based on our predictions here, if we go look at the loser bracket on the bottom, there is going to be Regis versus Carl School of Mines. Uh, who would you pick in that one?
Ooh,
Putting you on the spot with no,
that's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a flip of a coin. We saw with Colorado Mines, they had a lot of errors in their series against Billingsley, and if they're able to minimize the errors, then they got a shot. But I honestly would probably take Regis in this scenario just based off of pitching. And, I think that Ethan Wood is going to be able to show up at least, one, if not both of those games and be a difference maker. And, with that, I would say that Regis knocks Mines out of the tournament. Just, you know, Mines not really doing a whole lot this last series. I think, if they get the errors out of the way, then they have a chance. But I'm gonna have Regis squeak out a win here.
and so this kind of thinking about how the last series against MSU Billings went for Carl School of Mines. They didn't have a very good outing at all. That first game, the second game, they showed up and unfortunately lost it on that walk off, and then dominated that third game. Here this game would be played on Thursday, so on day two,
Mhm.
after they made that bus ride, they, you know, yeah, they probably gonna end up having that loss as we predict, but obviously who knows what's gonna happen. You know, we don't know anything, but just uh, if it turns out how we're thinking, I think that they show up on this game, and I think that during the regular season, in the 4 game series, Parallel School Mines beat Regis 3 games to 1. Um, and first one was 6-1, another one was 20-3, another was 14-3. Yeah, I think a lot of it will come down to pitching, but I think that what we've seen out of Carl School Mines is, yeah, they kind of wake up in the middle of the series here, and I kind of think that they're going to come out, and I'm going to pick Mines to win this game here and send Regis home, but we will see how it plays out. Um, Jumping then to the Thursday, the other Thursday game, we'd have here Mesa against um,
That'd be Pueblo.
Pueblo. Yep, Mesa against Pueblo. What are your thoughts here?
I can see Pueblo giving Mesa some fits. I definitely can see it. Um, Again, I think Mesa is just too good right now, and I think they're gonna win and go 2-0 and move on. But I can definitely see with how Pueblo's been playing these last couple of series of giving Mesa some fits, whether it's from a pitching side or a hitting side. You know, I think Mesa is going to be able to neutralize the Thunderwolves hitting, but we just saw CSUP neutralize UCCS's offense as well, so it can be done. Um, I think this is going to be a closer game than we think, um, but I think Pueblo is going to end up losing and going home. It's going to be just a tough draw for whoever loses that UCCS Pueblo game, because you're probably going to get Mesa, and you're going to have to win to be able to move on. And that's it's not a fun draw to have. But I like I said, I can see Pueblo giving Mesa some fits definitely with how they've been playing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think this could be a really good game too. It's really tough. I mean, this one literally could. Uh, I mean, I don't. Yeah, Mesa's not going to lose it, but Pueblo is playing at that level where they could definitely give him a scare. And I kind of feel like that can happen here. And But boy, the way that Mesa's been playing the last 3 games against MSU Denver, I just don't know that they're gonna lose a game in this tournament.
It's hard to pick against them right now.
Yeah. So eh, despite how Pueblo is finally playing at the level that they should be playing at, like you said, it's a tough draw. If they lose that first game against UCCS, I think I agree with you. They're going home against Mesa. Um,
Hmm.
in that last game on Thursday, then we have UCCS versus MSU Denver. I mean, this one will be definitely a great one for sure. I mean, both those 2 games, this Mesa and Pueblo and UCCS and MSU Denver, if we're right, would be great games to watch. What would be your pick? And take out your hometown bias here. Take out your school bias. What are you thinking?
And looking at it, I mean, we watched MSU Denver, put it to UCCS a couple of games here, and the series was kind of close here and there. I think looking at it, and it being at Mesa's ballpark plays a lot different than UCCS's ballpark. We saw 14 home runs there in their matchup in that first game last week, and just a lot of home runs in general that week. I mean, that Mountain Lion Park is really windy. Um, you know, Mesa's ballpark is really nice, and it plays a lot different than UCCS. Um, even though I still think I do think UCCS is going to win. Outside of the hometown bias and all that, I think the field is going to play a bigger factor. And with who they have throwing that second game, I don't know if I'll say who yet, but um, I do feel pretty confident with who's going out there for that second game versus Metro right now. If Metro's bats come to play, then I think Metro is going to win. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. I think it's going to be close either way. If Metro's bats come to play, then I think Metro's going to win. If they don't and they are still a little bit cold, then I think UCCS will be able to top it. But I will pick UCCS to go play Mesa in that next game.
So with this matchup, it's interesting. In the very before the start of conference play, UCCS and MSU Denver played a 3-game series, and MSU Denver was ranked at that time, and UCCS swept that series, 3-0.
Hmm.
Just recently here, end of April, we had a 4-game series, down in Colorado Springs that MSU Denver took that 3-1. Um, and took it at home. And some of those games are kind of convincing as well. That 29-6, game that kind of one of those games that gets away from you. But I feel like that MSU Denver seems to have UCCS's number, as of late, and I think that with the Abelhausen, Martinez, I think that they're going to end up getting this done. I think that yeah, they're going to go on to play Mesa, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that UCCS will head down into that loser bracket then, trying to fight the way back. So, well, with I mean, as far as like the last 3 teams standing, I kind of with me that's gonna be Mesa, MSU Denver, and UCCS.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I think those are the three teams that are going to be remaining at the end of the day.
As far as will Mesa lose a game in this tournament?
I think this year, no. I think in years prior, they have, and they've been a little bit more vulnerable. But I mean, I'd be I wouldn't be surprised if they do drop one. I think that they get through the first two. I think they get through the first two games without any scare. I think that third game, whether it's Metro or UCCS, I think we'll see. I do think they still handle business that third game, and then you go into the championship game with zero losses, and the other team has to beat you twice. I mean, that makes it extremely hard, and I don't think nobody was able to beat Mesa twice. I mean, Metro was only able to do it once. Even showing that they are vulnerable and they can lose. Um, I do think Mesa might, and it is probably a little bit likely that they might do a clean sweep right through and not lose a game. I think we're both in agreement with Mesa, MSU Denver, and UCCS, and as the top last three remaining. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Mesa and MSU Denver championship game as well, or very well could be a Mesa and UCCS championship game as well. But Mesa gets through those first three games unscathed. I don't think anyone's going to beat them twice. I mean, they're the number one team in the conference, number one team in Division II for a reason. I mean, the numbers just with their batting average, ERA, and all that are just, either right there with these other teams, and their ERA is just is a lot better than all these other RMAC teams. I think I'd be a little bit surprised if they drop one, which can happen, but I don't think they're going to drop two this year.
And before MSU Denver beat Mesa in game one of this last series, the last time that Mesa lost to a conference team was MSU Denver in last year's conference tournament. If anyone is going to hand them that loss, I think it is going to be MSU Denver in that championship series. But again, they're going to have to beat them twice. And quite frankly,
Mm-hmm.
my prediction is that Mesa doesn't lose at all in this series or in this tournament. I think they end up sweeping this. It gets done in 10 games. Um, yeah, I do think that it is going to be Mesa and MSU Denver. Just with the pitching that Mesa has, and I mean, we saw what they did in games 2 through 4. After dropping that first game against MSU Denver, I think that's a lesson and a loss that's going to really kind of stick with them and knock them well into the national tournament here, and they're not going to forget that lesson that was learned, and they're going to come out proving a point that yeah, we let one slip, but we are the kings of the hill here, and we're gonna make a statement and make sure everybody knows
Yeah, it's going to be, I expect the same. Like I said, I think, they'll get through unscathed. Um, I think, we very well could see UCCS go out in two games as well. I mean, they lose to Pueblo and then they get Mesa right after. I mean, that whoever gets that loser of game two playing Mesa that first game, I mean, you're going to have to play really well to be able to knock them out and knock them into the loser bracket. I mean, I could maybe see Mesa slipping in the semifinals, maybe. And I think that is the most realistic path for one of these other teams to win, would be to knock Mesa out to the losers bracket in the semifinals, and then you have a one. Uh, you get basically two games to beat Mesa, and you hope to be able to take one more. You know, I, I think if we get to the championship game and Mesa is sitting there undefeated, one team, whoever it is might be able to beat them one more time, but they're not going to be able to do it twice, I don't think.
yeah, that's huge, I guess, for especially for Mesa and being at home. I think they get there. I think they get there undefeated. And yeah, even if MSU Denver or UCCS or even Pueblo, are there and they able to sneak up and get them once. Yeah, there isn't a team in the conference that's going to get them twice, in my opinion. And I think they take that, and then we're off watching them in the national tournament. But I do think that MSU Denver, if they have a good tournament appearance here, if they can get into that championship game, that championship bracket there, and even if they don't, get one against Mesa, if they just get into that championship, game, then uh, yeah, I think that they have a very good chance of getting into the national tournament, and really, perhaps UCCS might be there, in Pueblo. I mean, I know that Pueblo, you know, is kind of that sleeper team, but they've had a very tough non-conference schedule that is really kind of helping them in some of the numbers and that the selection committee is going to be looking at. So, if Pueblo is able to make a run here and get, into that championship games there, that game 10 and 11, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get in. So I think it'd be very important for, you know, UCCS, MSU Denver, Pueblo. I mean, they're going to really be coming because yeah, their seasons on the line, and these teams both have the talent. All of them have the talent to make a run in the national tournament, but they need to get there, and they know that yeah, their backs are against the wall of getting there, and this is how they get there.
Exactly, and you got to feel comfortable if you're Mesa playing on your home field, and more likely than not, they're probably going to be able to host the first round as well. And I mean, at this point, I'd be a little bit surprised if they don't host. Um, but you're there, right there with them, and see if one of these teams can make a knockout blow, and see if they're able to knock them off. But years prior, I would say a maybe, but I don't think this year, just with how they've been overall, and they feel like a complete team right now, and they're hot at the right time.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, with Mesa, I think that they definitely end up hosting half of that regional round, and then the way it sits now, I mean, if they win out and win this conference tournament, like I think they should. I think they end up hosting the super regional and probably hosting that against UT Tyler. Yeah, hope it does, and kind of jealous that you're going to be there tomorrow. I'll be watching on TV, but it's not going to be quite the same. But yeah, there's nothing better than this tournament. I mean, this tournament is just a lot of fun. I mean, you never know, what's going to happen. I mean, teams come out and just be on fire, one game and just kind of shake the whole tournament up. And that's kind of what you love about this, love about the RMAC, and yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you're going to get some big time performances. Excuse me, from some people that you are not expecting, and that's what is great. It brings out the best of teams, but also some teams can shoot themselves in the foot at the same time. I mean, it's you don't know what you're going to get. We can try to guess it to the best of our abilities, but we're going to be wrong in some aspect.
Oh yeah,
For all we know, Regis is going to knock off Mesa first game. You never know.
that's right. You never know. So, well, that kind of concludes the show. Have any parting words you'd like to get out before we go here?
I appreciate you having me back on. This was great again. Being able to talk, especially the RMAC tournament coming up. Great time. Like you said, I'll be down there for the UCCS Pueblo game. I'll catch a little bit of the MSU Denver and Mines game as well. This is the best time of the year. You get playoff baseball, and you get teams really fighting for the edge here. You know, important note, like I said at the end of last week's, this is going to be it for Hadjic. So wish him the best going into retirement, and hopefully they're able to make a championship appearance or kind of push back past that. But I'm really excited to see all these teams play. I'm really excited to see if MSU Denver, their bats are able to come alive, or if, Mesa just ends up sweeping everyone, and we did all this, and hopefully we have an underdog, but you know it's going to be great. I appreciate you letting me come on.
Yeah, you bet. And I appreciate you coming on, kind of bailing me out here last 2 weeks with Jace having some other obligations he had to attend to. Couldn't can't thank you more, and went absolutely great. Appreciate your insight and yeah, just your willingness to do this, and thank the wife for letting me steal you for a couple evenings here the last couple weeks. But um, just want to say, like, you kind of come to the end of the season here, and it's exciting, but then there's always kind of like bittersweet. I mean, there's I mean, the so much talent in the RMAC, and really kind of why I like doing this is to kind of make sure that there's a platform to get that talent on display and let others kind of see it and enjoy it as well. But when this weekend's over, I mean, there's going to be four, possibly five, RMAC more RMAC teams that are going to be at home watching the national tournament, and it's just sad knowing that this is kind of like the last, little stretch here that we're going to get to see a lot of these players play, and or at least get to see them play for another what 9 months or so. But it's been a great year. Love covering RMAC baseball. The guys are great. Just great sportsmanship, great talent. They really make it exciting. And so, on that note, kind of like I mentioned last weekend, I have a link up on my social media for guys to go on and fill in where you're going to be playing summer collegiate baseball this summer. If you are, I definitely want to be able to follow you guys and kind of keep track of the games. You can usually catch a lot of them on YouTube or other various channels, but always fun to watch. Summer collegiate baseball is always a good time. Finally, do have the RMAC Conference Tournament Pick'em Challenge. Still some spots available. Can easily get you in. Try to let me know before 10:30 tomorrow, so I have a little bit of time to get it off and off to you. But definitely if you're thinking about it, just try it. It's fun. It's a good time. Pick some games, win, lose, whatever. But then you get to in the group chat and get to talk to a bunch of good people about some good baseball. It's a great time.
I concur with that. Like I said last week, I mean, I highly recommend it. I have a great time with it, and I mean, as soon as we get off here, I'm going to be filling mine out and getting it all settled.
I got to do mine too. So, well, thank you very much, Hunter. And basically until next week, everybody enjoy the tournament, and we'll talk to you in a week.